listening to the Onion Podcast, presented by Columbia Media Group. On today's episode, Dave Alexander of Onion World Magazine is joined via Zoom by David Funk of Zero Emissions Northwest. They will be discussing saving energy on the farm.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us again. This is the Potato Podcast, and we're also going to run this on the Onion Podcast. And I'm your host, Dave Alexander with Columbia Media Group. And today we are joined by David Funk, and he is the president of ZEN, Z-E-N, which is an acronym for Zero Emissions Northwest. So that's kind of fun. I like that. ZEN is a consulting company that works on energy projects. And so I'm going to say, welcome, David. Thank you for joining us on the podcast today. And why don't you introduce yourself, a quick explanation of what you do at ZEN.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on the Onion and Potato Podcast. This is my first podcast, so I'm excited to try this new medium, and I appreciate the time today.
Awesome.
So at Zero Emissions Northwest, we go by ZEN. We help farmers save energy. We're based out of Spokane, Washington, and I've been in the energy space for almost 15 years, always working on technologies that are going to be energy efficiency or renewable energy. So when it came time for the USDA to run a contract to see who can help farmers in Eastern Washington and Idaho, we were the company that won that. So what we do is market some of these USDA programs and then also come and help farmers find projects, or if they have a project, go through the application process and win money. So we've written in the last year 60 grants, and we've won 44, and we're still waiting on about 16 of them. So we're batting 1,000 right now.
Okay, so to listeners today, this company, ZEN, is about saving you money. That's why they're on here, because we want to save growers money. So let's, first off, you work with people in the Pacific Northwest, but the things that we're going to be talking about today, energy savings, how to get grants, that kind of thing, that can be applied nationally. Is that right?
Correct. So the programs that we work with the USDA, we're connected with the local state offices, but every state has access to these funds. And there are similar companies in every state that have been awarded. So if you do want to find a state and find a contract in your state that can help, you would just Google USDA Technical Assistance Grantees. And those are the people that you'd be working with if you're in Mississippi or Iowa or Georgia.
Okay, excellent. We'll try to get a link put on the show notes for that as well. So now let's talk about REAP, REAP, which is what is it? It's the Rural Energy for America program. What the heck is REAP?
Everybody that designs these programs likes to come up with a catchy, catchy acronym.
Yes, the government loves their acronyms.
Yes. So the Rural Energy for America program is a grant program run by the USDA's Rural Development Division. If you are a grower, you're automatically eligible for these projects or for these funds. And if you are a rural small business, you're also eligible for these. So we have actually worked on small restaurants and welding shops and kind of the things that exist in rural America that can also benefit from this as well. But primarily we support farmers. So the REAP grants cover two categories: energy efficiency improvements and renewable energy projects. And when we think about renewable energy projects, it's 95% solar, because that's replicable. It's very simple to do compared to a geothermal project or a wind project. That said, if you want to do those, this grant can fund those projects as well, up to 50%.
I'm sorry, 15 or 50?
50, 50.
50%. Awesome.
Yep. And when we do our work, we're seeing about half of the farmers do solar and half of them do an energy efficiency project. So that's what we've seen in our grant writing expertise. One of the reasons why solar is a very used technology in this project, in this program, is you can take the federal tax credit alongside the USDA grant. So that's a 30% federal tax credit and a 50% USDA grant. Those projects look very financially attractive to a farm.
For sure.
For energy efficiency, it's basically anything on your farm that can save energy that doesn't have wheels. So we can't get a new tractor, we can't get a new truck, but if you have an old pump that doesn't have a variable frequency drive on it, that's an eligible project. If you're heating your shop with diesel and you want to convert that to electricity, that's an eligible project. If you're using smudge pots and you're heating your orchard with that to protect frost protection, going to a propane powered frost machine is an eligible project. So what we see with energy efficiency are farmers that already have the idea of the project that they want to do. They know that they need to fix this compressor, or they know that they need to fix that ventilation system for that potato storage building. Those are where we really fit in nicely, because if we can make that project better or make that project happen sooner or even make it a little bit bigger than what that farmer's budget is currently able to do, that's where we fit in really, really well.
So, in that instance, you're not assured that you're going to have the grant, that the grant will go through. So can you wait to, start the project until you're sure?
Yep. So we do get into those issues where, I'll talk about this. If your irrigation pump breaks, this still takes time, the federal grant process. So if you need something in
I
the
got to
field
fix it
working
today, right? I
tomorrow,
mean, yeah.
right, this isn't the program for you. If you just want to improve efficiency, or if you have old equipment that you think is going to break in the next couple of years, this is where you can replace it on your time, on your schedule, rather than on fate's schedule. So, proactive upgrades rather than reactive upgrades fit really nicely with this.
Mm-hmm.
When we think about timing, so we've got a couple farmers that are working on improving irrigation. They want to do that no matter what for next growing season. So if you have your application in and it's deemed complete, you can then spend money at your own risk. If you're going to do that project no matter what, you're going to do that project no matter what. But as long as we get your application in, you might be awarded maybe 2 months after that project has started. So we do have a couple of people that are trying to have their cake and eat it too, where they put in for the grant, they hope that they win it, and then if they do, they're already underway with the project.
Right.
Now, the way that I view my job is to win a grower the most money in the shortest amount of time with the highest certainty. So that final parameter or pillar of what we will look at might mean that we ask for a little bit less money if we think it will increase the odds of you winning the grant. And what we have is we've just seen every type of project in Washington and Idaho. So, my ultimate goal is to be able to say no to a project if we know that it won't score well based on the parameters that we're evaluating.
Mm-hmm.
Part of this is time. I don't want you to waste your time if you're going to apply for a project and we don't think it'll be successful. Just like I don't want to write grants for practice. I want to write grants to win money to put projects in the ground.
Sure. Okay. All right. So you said you're up to like 60 grants now. And you got a pretty good website too. We'll put a link in the show notes on that. And there's some there's a couple of examples in there. And let's just take an example of a project that you've done. Tell us one of your success stories.
Sure. So one of the projects that I really like, we've got a fruit grower down borders the Columbia River. They're too far away from the grid to get 3-phase power for their irrigation. So they've been using propane. So they burn propane, they run an electric motor, and that's how they're irrigating their crops. We have won about $100,000 for that farmer to install solar. And then it's going to be a hybrid system. So we're not getting rid of propane in that instance. We're not getting rid of their backup diesel genset. What we're going to do is integrate solar into that so that when it's sunny, propane doesn't, we don't use propane, we're using the sunshine that they can use. Um, that's going to be very financially advantageous to that farmer because, as you can imagine, they're right next to transmission lines on the Columbia River, and they can't tap into that. They've got some of the cheapest power in the country, and they're using essentially propane to do the work. So we are in the process of having that project up and running next year. So that's an example of solar doing something more complicated. An example of solar just fitting into where a farm would benefit from is maintenance shops. So if you're using your shop or your shed to do winter maintenance, and depending on how you're heating those buildings, putting solar on the roof of that is a very passive way of saving money. So we're seeing farmers invest in that, and then as they think through future investments on their farm or on their potentially nearby house next door, really thinking through potential HVAC improvements or electrification of other things on the farm that are going to take advantage of that now cheaper energy rate. And then in terms of what we're seeing with bigger projects or energy efficiency, we've been working with a controlled atmosphere building over near Wenatchee. And this is similar to potatoes and to onions because they do need to control the interior atmosphere of those storage buildings. But for that apple storage, we are helping them replace some of their CO2 scrubbers so that they don't have to run a much larger nitrogen generator as they're trying to maintain the atmospheric levels in that building. So using a CO2 scrubber is much more energy efficient than generating nitrogen. So those are examples of projects where there's a reason to do it anyways in order to maintain the quality of their crop. But if we can justify other energy savings, we can marry those two reasons. This is good for the energy, and this is good for the storage of that crop.
So if I'm a grower and I'm thinking that I need to upgrade my storage, maybe some new fans and new equipment that monitors humidity and electronic boards, that kind of thing. I'm going to want to do that. Would this be a good example of when they should check in with you and see if you could maybe help them, or if they're not in the PNW to check one of those other resources?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Anytime you're going to be doing a project that can wait a little bit to potentially receive some grant funding, that's a great purpose or a great reason to give us a call to see what we think about funding limits, what we think how that grant would score, and other things that we know that other farmers are taking advantage of. So we've seen just so much creativity from the grower community at finding practical solutions to energy problems. And the cool thing about what we've been experiencing is as technology changes, we're able to deploy that in farms. So we're the first company to win grants for drones for spraying as part of an energy efficiency upgrade.
Okay.
We've seen that come through, and the way that we've been essentially pitching this to the USDA is this isn't R&D. This isn't a brand new technology that has never been deployed before. This is off the shelf technology that's used elsewhere that now agriculture can take advantage of. Some areas agriculture is leading when it comes to satellite driving and all of that, but other areas we've seen innovations elsewhere in the country, or we've seen innovations elsewhere in industries that we're able to now bring to the agricultural community. So in that scenario with the drone, we've looked at how they use their tractor or their sprayer today and how that drone will replace some of that heavier work. So that's been an interesting idea that if you call us, we might be able to say, oh, have you thought about this? And even so, we've seen farmers advance those technologies and what we've just been supporting. So the maturation of those drone technologies and how it actually gets executed is stuff that we're working on.
So I'm just trying to envision when they should, when a grower should actually be thinking about grants. I mean, you said that anything with wheels you can't do. Is there any other things that's just going to disqualify right away? Or should they, every time they look at an upgrade or something that's going to be more sustainable, something that's going to save energy, is that at least worth a phone call to you guys?
I think it's at least worth a phone call. If we can't, one of the first conversations we have with a potential applicant is an eligibility question.
Yeah.
So we've been working with a grain storage company here in Eastern Washington. And the first thing we're going to try to figure out is, are they eligible? Are they deemed a rural small business? And there are criteria for the Small Business Administration that we really compare against. But from there, we'll move to their project and understand, how does this project fit in? Is that an eligible project? It's the same thing with a grower. If we know that they're a grower and they're eligible for these opportunities, we can have that conversation to say how we think it would score. The other criteria other than energy that have scoring benefits. So if you're in a disadvantaged area, or if you're a veteran-owned business, those are things that the USDA also incentivizes. And it is a competitive grant, so we will go through all of the different things that we're able to look at, and try to optimize this to win you the most money in the shortest amount of time with the highest certainty.
Okay. A lot of advantages to what you're offering here, and I'm excited to present this opportunity to growers. So you also have a couple of different products that you market through your site. One of them is you do some reprogramming on PCMs or ECMs of tractors. Is and that's, people have been doing that for a long time. You could tell us what kind of results you're getting, but the one of the questions I had there was, is that something that you can do remotely, or you have to go to the farm?
So it's a great question. Before we jump into the other things that we offer, as far as our business model in Washington and Idaho, we've got the contract with the USDA. So whenever we're working with a farmer, as far as going through that exploration process, it's at no charge to the farmer. We do have a success fee model. So if we do win you a grant, there is a fixed charge success fee, and we're really trying to keep those costs down. And we'll never take more than 7% of a grant. I don't want to become a burden on these projects. So if we win a farmer $20,000, we're never going to be super expensive to go and actually do that. We've got that dual mission of helping farmers, but also making sure that we're not expensive in doing so. And with the contract from the USDA, we're able to really manage our risk as an independent energy consultant.
Very cool. All right, so let's see if we can sell some of these other products for you to to help you along here. Let's get back to that PCM programming.
Yep.
Can you do that remotely?
We don't do that remotely, and what we're working on is not tractors or semi trucks. We really work on the light duty fleet. And when we think about any new product that we would come to market with, since we are boots on the ground, I've put 20,000 miles on my car in the last year driving around to visit farms. We really want to have products that are tested, that are scalable, and that are cost effective. So the two products, the first one I'm happy to talk about, are our vehicle truck tunes, and we just change how a truck idles. It is something that I have to go on site and do. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes per truck. And moving from idling at 400 RPM to 320 RPM, that's something that doesn't really change how the truck drives and how the truck works, but it's saving money pretty passively.
You're talking about one-ton diesels and stuff, right?
Your F-150s to your F-550s. Is that those are the light-duty trucks. And when we're trying to work on this, right, when we were coming up with other ideas, Washington has really expensive gas and diesel. We're one of the highest in the nation. So if we're able to reduce those costs, that has an impact on a farm's bottom line. And we're seeing about a 1 to 1.5 year payback for that single tune. I, as a small business owner, really dislike subscription-based financing. So we do try to have everything as a one-time fee. Let's just get it done, and you guys can save money into perpetuity. So that's what we've been doing. As far as how that's been going, we came to this because it was used by Comcast and other large fleets. So this has been, 300 to 400,000 tunes have happened in the States. I'm not going out and custom changing things. These are all packages that are already set up, but we're one of those approved resellers of that technology.
So you'll do that in the PNW, but your Better Fill product, which I think I have here. Yeah. I'm going to share this case study, and that is not it. Here is the Better Fill case study. This is a fuel additive that obviously you ship this wherever, right? So now we're talking about anybody can get this in any part of the country.
Correct. So my brother-in-law, he's a grain farmer here in Washington, and he sat on the board of a fuel company, a co-op. And when I was telling him about this product that I had encountered at a previous role before I started my company, he was a skeptic. He has just seen everybody come through their doors with this wonderful fuel additive that's going to change the world.
Yeah, we all are.
So I've realized that I'm facing headwinds in doing this. My approach is coming at it from the return on investment from an energy standpoint. So also recognizing that this product needs to be tested, scalable, and very effective for farmers. We don't think lightly about adding products to our suite. We're a small team. We can't do everything for everybody. So we have to be very judicious about where we do spend our time. And this product is something that, as a financially motivated energy dork, I am falling in love with each time we do more pilots and we get more data. So the product's been used widely in Texas. It's in the common fueling network in Texas for the last 20 years. It's treated 120 billion gallons of diesel, and it's been certified by the Texas Department of Environmental Quality, California Air Resources Board, and the UN. So just to establish this is not a new product. This is widely used, and it's been widely tested. It's never really been brought to ag, and it's never really been brought to ag in Washington or Idaho or anywhere, in the US. So they sell tankers in Texas. They don't sell gallons. So I'm trying to, figure out how this works for growers. That's just background. What we've been doing in wheat in Washington, but this would be applicable for any gasoline or diesel operation on a farm, we've been doing field testing. So in this case study, this was harvest. $22 of the additive was applied in field, and it saved almost $400, about $380 in gas. This is a catalyst, so it just helps the fuel combust more. It's not a detergent. It's not going to really impact your DEF, and it doesn't really change the lubricity of fuel, which is a really important thing for farmers nowadays. And we were doing this in a 2023 S780 John Deere combine with data coming from the John Deere Ops Center, which, as an aside, that cloud-based data collection platform is amazing. I was doing this analysis on my couch.
Yeah.
Overall, for this farm, they would save about $5,500 every year on their diesel purchases with about 2 gallons of Better Fill. So that's about $440. We sell that on our website with shipping included, so it just gets right to you. When I think about the impacts to a farm, here in Washington and in Idaho, we have very affordable electricity and very expensive diesel and gas. So the work that we're doing on a farm for a solar project is actually probably going to save a similar amount of money as this is. And that solar project's $100,000. So, to save the same amount of money as a $100,000 solar project with about $500 worth of additive, my answer is do both.
Yeah.
But just do the additive also. So what we're doing right now is recognizing that the proof is in the pudding, and there's a lot of skepticism for this. I've not seen any data that tells me otherwise, but it's really, if people are interested, please reach out. We are willing to do pilots, give you a free sample, set up a testing parameter for your farm,
Very cool.
and track that data. So
Well,
we also
this
did
sales
this with
sheet is pretty cool. I mean, obviously spending $440 to get back $5,500. I mean, it's a no-brainer, but will it work with my equipment and my farm? That's what the growers are going to have to decide. You're willing to help them figure that out, let them try it out.
Yep.
So that's awesome.
And where this works best is if you have on-site storage. So if you've got a 3,000-gallon diesel tank or a 10,000-gallon diesel tank, I try to live my life by an 80-20 rule. So if I can do the least amount of work to get the most gain, I think that is where we all need to be spending our time. And if you can just pour a gallon of this or half a gallon into a 10,000-gallon tank and save, $2,000-3,000, that's money well spent, and that's time well spent. But when I think about this just for the state of Washington, because I've been looking at this data, state of Washington in 2022 consumed $338 million worth of dyed diesel. So this product alone would save growers in the state of Washington about $25 million every year.
Wow.
At a fraction of a cost of, other efficiency opportunities. So
okay,
please reach out if you are interested in it. What's more important to me right now is to being able to validate and tell these stories, and try to expand this and the usage of this, because it's just so impactful for rural communities.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love the idea, but as you said, we've all heard, for years of snake oils and STP and whatever. I'm not saying this is one of those, but I'm looking forward to getting some more information down the road and talking to some growers that actually try it out. I think we're out of time. David Funk with Zero Emissions Northwest. I want to thank you for joining us today. We will put some important links in the show notes, but tell us your website.
Our website is zeroemissionsnorthwest.com, all spelled out. So that Northwest is not NW, zeroemissionsnorthwest.com. Please reach out to me. We're a small team, so if you send us a response on your email, it'll probably be me sending you an email back. And excited to talk to all of the folks that are listening to your podcast in Washington and Idaho and beyond. And then if you are somewhere else in the country, feel free to give me a call. I'm happy to help you navigate this process either way. And my goal is to see projects and steel on the ground.
That's great. Hey, thanks again. I'm really looking forward to your work in the future, and what we're trying to do is save growers money, and I think your company is set up to do that, so I like it. So thanks again. Hope you have a great day.
Thank you very much, Dave. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are for informational purposes only, and solely those of the podcast participants, contributors, and guests, and do not constitute an endorsement by or necessarily represent the views of Columbia Media Group or its affiliates.